I'm pleased to announce that a small but integral piece to the Ray-Gal puzzle has been set into place. After days of searching, I finally picked out a car for my trips to and from the dig. It's a used one, only has 2 seats, and the horsepower's nothing to write home about, but the price was right, and it scads better than a camel. The merchant who sold it to me called it a scorpion tracker. More like a scorpion cruncher with me at the wheel. I can't stand these stinging, pinching devils, and they're nearly as big as me out here. On a side note, Harry said he had rumblings of some competition heading our way. Now that can only mean one thing, mate. Sam Sinister and Baron Von Baron got wind that we're here, and it's only a matter of time before old Slyboots decides to try and crash our party. I can't wait to see what he's got up his sleeve this time. I'll write again when I can. Sincerely, Johnny Thunder.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to TrikBrix. My name's Jamie, and today we're going to continue our adventures retrospective by taking a look at set number 5918, The Scorpion Tracker, which was released in 1998 and retailed for just $4.50 in the US, making it the least expensive, non-polybag style desert-themed set. It contains just 34 pieces and includes 1 minifigure, so it's the perfect entry point if you're looking to begin your own adventures collection. Now, most people would probably just see a pile of random bricks laying here, but for me, this is a treasured piece of my childhood because it's my original Scorpion Tracker, the one I actually got as a kid and grew up with. And it's had a bit of a rough life, so I apologize in advance for any scratched or discolored pieces. This thing saw plenty of action back in the day. And if you actually start to collect some of these older / vintage sets, you'll find that they're not always in pristine condition. In fact, usually the opposite is true, so this is probably a pretty good example of what a used Scorpion Tracker might look like if you pick one up on eBay or Bricklink. Unfortunately, I no longer have the original box. I wasn't smart enough to do that as a kid. But I do have the original instruction booklet, which in fact isn't a booklet, it's one of these small fold-out varieties. This was a pretty simple set, so the instructions didn't really need to take up much real estate. And here you can see a fairly hideous alternate build that I'm pretty sure I never attempted. As we work our way through this series, sometimes I'll have the instructions and the box, sometimes just one or the other, and in a few instances I'll have neither, unfortunately. But I will always present them if possible because I think they really add to the experience. Anyway, we do have the instructions, and more importantly we have the pieces, so let's put 2 and 2 together and see what happens. Now we're getting somewhere. Like I said before, this is a fairly simple set, but it does have its fair share of interesting elements and pieces, so we're going to take a look at all of those, but first, I think this guy deserves our attention. Johnny Thunder was and always will be one of my favorite LEGO characters. And if you got one Johnny in 1998, you had them all. There were no variations of the minifigure in this theme. The only difference I've ever really seen from one to the next is the quality of the printing. Sometimes it was crisp and clear like you see here, and other times it was a bit more fuzzy like this one. This was common for many printed elements from this time and earlier, so it's nothing to be too alarmed about. Johnny has his trademark hat, which is often and erroneously referred to as a fedora, but it's actually an Australian slouch hat. His hair is printed on, and his expression is one of pure confidence. And who wouldn't be confident with that sweet stash and those killer sideburns? He's wearing a simple khaki shirt and bright red neckerchief, with a few printed straps angling across his torso. And even though later sub-themes would update Johnny's wardrobe, one thing would always remain a constant: his trusty revolver tucked in behind his belt. And simple, unprinted black legs round out the ensemble. It's an all-time classic minifigure that has stood the test of time pretty well, and definitely ranks in my own personal top 5. And now let's get back to Johnny's preferred mode of transportation. Vehicles were one of the cornerstones of the Adventurers line, and as far as proper automobiles go, 7 were released in the desert theme alone. Even more if you include things like this, which I don't, for obvious reasons. The Scorpion Tracker itself is made up of just over 20 pieces, but that was all LEGO needed to give us the perfect little hot rod for Johnny and a friend to cruise the dunes in. And the thing I love most about this car, and it's something I wish that LEGO would utilize more often, is this specialized body element. It's essentially a 5-stud wide plate on a 4-stud wide base, which allows for 2 minifigures to sit comfortably side by side and still remain centered on the chassis. Inside, you can see all of the essentials: a steering wheel, shifter, and 2 seats which are part of the body mold. There are no stickers in this set, so this is a printed tile, depicting a console with a few gauges and a key. And in between the seats is this nifty little slot that perfectly houses any 2x2 tile, which in this case is one of 4 different maps scattered across all of the desert sets. We'll eventually get to see all 4, but this one depicts Anubis in the top right corner and is marked with the number 40 in the bottom left. Just behind the seats is this handy wooden crate that carries all sorts of gear to help Johnny out in his quest. In this set, we get a shovel, a pickaxe, a pair of black binoculars, and for when his revolver won't do the trick, a rifle. Now, some people might balk at the thought of a realistically styled gun being included in a child's toy, but I can assure you that in the hours upon hours I spent playing with this, no homicidal tendencies were born. Those wouldn't come till years later when I entered the workforce. Anyway, if we swing around to the front, you'll see this specialized grill piece, featuring some decent detail and a couple of anti-studs for affixing 1x1 round plates to represent headlights, although this set doesn't include any of those. Behind that is a small hinged windshield which can be folded down when your passengers really want to feel the wind in their hair. And here you can really see some of the scratching that I mentioned earlier. These trans-clear elements are prone to do this if they've been dumped into a bin with 1,000 other bricks, as this one was. 4 aggressively treaded tires mounted on spoked wheels gives the tracker a good deal of ground clearance, something vitally important when bouncing across the desert landscape. And last but not least, some local wildlife, the scorpions. Again, I'm not sure why I thought these were so cool, but I did. Looking at them now, they would undoubtedly be the most terrifying scorpions on the planet if their size compared to Johnny is accurate. In another homage to his biggest inspiration, it's stated in LEGO Mania magazine that Johnny hates scorpions, a blatantly obvious nod to Indiana Jones' distaste for snakes. It's also interesting to note that this version of the scorpion isn't seen in any of the product photography, such as box art. Instead, the prototype mold was always featured, identifiable by the solid top stud in place of the hollow studded version we all got. Yes, that's the kind of useless information I have rolling around in my head. All in all, the Scorpion Tracker is a great little set. It really doesn't pretend to be more than it is, and doesn't rely on gimmicks or an established storyline to initiate imaginative play, so it's great for developing young minds. For casual adult collectors who aren't obsessed with completing the entire collection like I am, this still makes a pretty perfect little desk display, and thankfully it isn't going to break the bank. Roughly $10 will get you one used on eBay or Bricklink, And if you want to get the full experience, brand new sealed specimens can generally be had for about $25. So if you like what you've seen, it's definitely worth picking up. Well, it's time for Johnny to roll out, and it's time for me to sign off until our next stop in the Adventures Retrospective, Episode 3, The Bi-Wing Baron. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you liked this video, please consider leaving a comment and a thumbs up. So once again, this has been Jamie for TrikBrix. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care everybody, and play well.